Stunning new developments surrounding the Hunter Biden laptop investigation. Timothy Thibault, not the former football player, but the FBI special agent in charge of the Hunter probe, just resigned. The FBI director had dismissed him earlier this month from his supervisory role. Agency whistleblowers claim that Thibault allowed political bias to influence the handling of the case. And that apparently includes allegations that he ran interference to slow down the Hunter Biden investigation just a month ahead of the 2020 presidential election. Reports say that Thibault was marched out of D.C. headquarters on Friday, which is standard procedure. It is really interesting, Trace, because there was a July 18th letter from Grassley that specifically mentions Thibault.
Right.
He says the information provided by whistleblowers confirms my concerns about a pattern of clear partisanship by Thibault as well as other FBI and Justice Department officials. In fact, the information I have received reveals that Thibault's political partisanship went much deeper than inappropriate social media posts. And in fact, it could have influenced investigations at the highest levels of the FBI, that decision making.
But I got to say, when I first heard it, they said the same thing. Like, Timmy Thibault did what?
I know.
Are you kidding me? Tim Thibault? He's like, no, that's the wrong Tim Thibault. But
it goes back, baseball.
It goes back, and you talk to Grassley, and you know, he's been very adamant about this. But it kind of goes back to what they were saying, and the New York Post was saying, is that, you know, the FBI knew. The FBI knew on day one that this laptop was legit. They never called Tony Bobulinski. Never one time did they get on the phone and say, hey, Tony, these emails, anything, right? They never called Devin Archer, Hunter Biden's business partner. There was no attempt to say, I wonder if this really is Russian disinformation or misinformation. There was not the attempt made because the FBI, and we've talked to former FBI people who said, come on, they're very good at this kind of stuff. They can tell you in 15 seconds if this phone is legit, if this is, they knew it was legit from day one, and to run interference on this to slow it down, not just to notify the social media companies that this thing should not be touched, should not be covered, and not be talked about, but to actually run interference is the accusation to slow this thing down, is a huge disappointment in the FBI. And there have been a lot of disappointments with the FBI in recent years.
Yeah, Julie, I mean, you can't help but compare. I mean, a fake Russia dossier paid for by Hillary is handed to them, and they run with it.
Yeah.
And then we learn quashing this Hunter Biden investigation based on calling it Russian disinformation. I mean, there is such an evident hypocrisy.
Yeah, but I want to know whose heads are going to roll. I mean, I expect a in-depth investigation, but will we get one? That's the question. I don't know how in-depth they're going to go. This is election interference. And you know, not only is this election interference, but it's another example of the left that are infiltrating the FBI, which is really scary that they're able to do that and actually have political influence on the FBI. But if you think about it, and you read the story, I'm sure, this week about how the left also influenced Pfizer to roll back the vaccine until after the election because, God forbid, President Trump looked like he's taking care of COVID, right? And then 6 days after the election, conveniently so, Pfizer comes out and says that this COVID vaccine is in fact safe. So, I mean, there's just so many layers to the election interference. But the fact that the FBI is involved, that's scary. And that needs to be looked into by the White House. And I don't see that happening.
It should be looked into. You know, Leslie, I was talking with a fellow Republican who said, I've got to believe that there are rank and file people at the FBI who are very much against what's happening in the top brass. And I think we see that in the form of whistleblowers, many whistleblowers coming to many lawmakers who are saying, hey, we are the FBI and this is not how we operate. So I think the story of the whistleblower says a lot.
One bad apple can spoil the whole bunch, not to quote the Jackson 5 song. But look, you know, to me, this shouldn't be political. You know, I think most of us grew up that, you know, you respect teachers and you respect doctors and you respect police officers and law enforcement institutions such as the FBI. And that's not the case right now. And that can be dangerous because if you're only going to pick and choose what you believe and you're not believing something that they're putting out, I think that's dangerous as a nation. This bothers me when this individual was near retirement, and this is the way a retired individual from the FBI goes out the door. Timing. And I have to agree with you 100% that there are people within the organization that are uncomfortable with not just the actions of this individual, but with some of the actions that stain the reputation of the agency and them being part of it.
Does it make you as a Democrat question some of the decision making at the FBI when you see stories like this?
Yes. I've questioned, and not just as a Democrat, as an American. I've questioned, and I questioned in the former administration and the administration before that, not only some decisions by the DOJ, by the FBI, FBI, by the CDC, across the board. Yes.
Yeah, I think there's good reason for that. This disparity, people look at, for instance, the Mar-a-Lago raid, which raises a lot of questions. People have distrust, and absolutely, we've got to say over and over, no place for violence in this country. We want to bring down the temperature, but you still have a right to question, and you still got to answer Chuck Grassley's questions, and you're still beholden to the Senate, because after all, FBI, you're accountable to a body that's elected by the American people, and those questions deserve answers.
Yeah. Those elected officials, especially in the Senate. I had Senator Blackburn on this morning, and she said it's time for Christopher Wray to come back in front of their committee. They're going to call him back once again to Grassley's questions and say what is going on at the FBI. She said he conveniently had a 1:30 hard out last time that he appeared in front of the committee. She's like, we had a lot more questions we couldn't get through with him. But the other thing I will say just real quick about Mark Zuckerberg, if you listen to what he said to Joe Rogan, if you listen, he really started to dodge the specifics of this FBI warning to him. I have a feeling that they were more specific about it. But remember, this is Mark Zuckerberg. This is Silicon Valley. This is liberal land. I mean, come on. So the fact that he was very careful in not answering those questions about what the specific who from the FBI reached out, what they said, I think he realized he had said too much, but he was trying to kind of suck up to Joe Rogan because, it's Joe Rogan. So
yes,
anyway.
but senators now asking questions of Facebook saying, we want to see the documents, we want to know about this communication. I think there's a lot more here to uncover. We'll see.
Tim Thibault, by the way, he's got calls from his lawyer, and MSNBC wants to hire him tonight. So there's
Totally.
like what?
Maybe they'll get to see the
Not the
documents.
football player.
Not the football player.
Even I knew
or the
that
baseball
one.
player at one time.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.